Today on episode 18 of the Sean and Bo Show, Wes Welker popped a molly, now he's suspended.
And college football gave us a great opening week. We'll show you what to look for in week 2.
Plus the must-see matchups of the opening week of the NFL. It's all coming up on the Sean and Bo Show. Hello, beautiful people. Thank you very much for tuning in to the Sean and Bo Show. It's episode 18. The dog days of summer are past us. College football is 1 week in the books, and the NFL starts this week. Oh, my God. It's heaven.
It's amazing. And it's like you see people in the streets, and they have things to talk about. You know, you used to be in the checkout lane at the grocery store, and it was just the same old, everybody's looking around, and then all of a sudden those NFL banners went up, Sean. You see the Bud Light sponsorship or Miller Lite wherever you're living. You got your team logos going up everywhere. It is here, and it is time to talk about it.
And before we do that, I've got a score to settle, Bo. Last week, you might have remembered hearing this on the program. Just a second, but I got to give credit where credit's due. Bo, you know that I am a big-time Notre Dame fan, so I have zero love for your Trojans of Southern California. But, man, this is just one of those cool stories, and I got to give this guy his props. Cornerback, Josh Shaw, star player on the team. He had just been voted captain.
Yep.
Literally hours before this took place, had just been voted captain, and he was at a family gathering, and he was looking out a second-story window and saw his 7-year-old nephew in total distress in the pool, basically drowning. Mm-hmm. So what did he do? He didn't think about the potential millions of dollars that he could be losing by doing something like this. He sprang into action, literally, jumped out the window of the second-story building, landed bad, crawled on his hands and knees to the pool and saved his nephew. Well, some more details have come out about that, Bo. And just go ahead and lock that door for a second. I got something to say.
Man, I'm afraid to be in here right now.
To you Trojan scum, this is why people hate USC. It's the cheating. It's the lying. It's the 8-year-old logic. It's the culture where you can get away with everything. It's having no academic standards. It's doing everything you can to skirt by NCAA violations. It's convicts playing on your team, and it's absolute cowards like Josh Shaw. I hate you. I regret ever opening my mouth saying anything good about USC. I should have known better.
Official story? Is it still
up
speculation?
In the air. They're saying that it involved him fleeing his girlfriend's house. So
I've heard running from the cops from a friend's party to running from the girlfriend's house to there was a fight. I don't know what to believe anymore. It's almost like I've come to a point in my life where anything that comes out of the University of Southern California athletic department, you're just going to let it go in one ear and mosey on out the other because it's a lie.
Same old Trojans, new coach, same team.
What's his name? Pat Hayden. He's a frequent guest on the Dan Patrick Show. Good friend there. I think they're friends. I am going to be listening to DP because if he can get that interview, which I doubt happens in the next coming weeks, it would be amazing just to hear him have to answer or dance around the topic that is Josh Shaw.
See, my favorite part of this story is that he actually implicated the head coach, Steve Sarkisian, as he went out and congratulated Josh Shaw on the story that never happened. So it made him look bad too. So that's why he's suspended indefinitely, and that's why I feel like a damn fool for not knowing better. Say it with me. FUSC.
Yeah.
I hate you.
Oh, yeah. I'm never going to let this die. There's talks actually going on of USC maybe playing the Lobos. I will show up with some sort of Shaw hatred sign so everybody can see it because that's pitiful. You're going to say
it's like what you would tell your mom when you broke the lamp when you were 7 years old.
That far.
Mom, there was a burglar that came in here and I tackled him. He knocked the lamp over, but I made sure he didn't steal anything.
My children own up to their mistakes better than Josh Shaw.
An idiot.
It's just sad. That's the exact opposite of what I'm telling my football players when it comes to representing your community. I know Steve Sarkisian does a better. Well, you know what? I don't want to start throwing people under the bus, but as people know, I am in the coaching world. I have friends that coach college and NFL. We talk. I heard a rumor that a friend of mine who played ball in college for Sarkeesian, was one of his top guys, promised a job to him when he got a new position at USC, was actually interviewing to go to Washington, right? Where Sarkeesian was. Sarkeesian gets the job on like a Tuesday. My buddy's calling Sarkeesian, didn't hear from him for like 6 weeks. Finally just stopped calling him. Apparently Sarkeesian didn't even have enough you-know-whats to turn around and tell somebody, I got a better job, I'm going to get some better coordinators. Couldn't even call the man. So I'm starting to wonder about not only the head coach, but anybody who's associated with him, you know, the stories that are coming out, whether it's a player going on Twitter, Shaw lying, or somebody I hear, you know, through the grapevine that he doesn't treat coaches well. Maybe this is a product of what you got at USC. You went from Kiffin to him, and before that you had my man Pete Carroll, who continues to get fines.
God, I hate you, Pete Carroll.
God, he's getting fined in the NFL. It doesn't change. $300,000 fine.
All right, enough of that nonsense. Let's talk about the real teams out there. College football week 1 already in the books, and we already have apparently a suitable replacement for old Johnny Football. As his stats get blown out of the water in the first game of his absence, and the new quarterback already wants a new nickname, though.
Yeah, and he's trying to name himself.
You can't do that.
You
cannot give yourself a nickname. Everyone knows that.
Mr. Kenny Hill is the quarterback's name if you were living under a rock or not on planet Earth. He just went off in the South Carolina game on ESPN primetime. First game, everybody's watching. The dude went off. And coming off that game, you want to be humble. You want to know that the eyes of college football and the world are on you because you've now stepped into Johnny Football's position. They want to see if you're going to be a douchebag or handle yourself like Peyton Manning or a Tom Brady or Russell Wilson. You did exactly what they wanted you to do, Kenny. You became Johnny Football. But instead of being Johnny Football and allowing the fans of Texas A&M to give you your nickname, you decided to nickname yourself, son. Your dad needs to be calling you, your uncle, whoever your mentors are, and explain to you why you don't give yourself a nickname.
Now, what is it? What is this nickname that he wants?
Oh, boy. And this is where it gets good. Kenny Trill.
Oh,
if you
God.
listen to rap music from about the year 98 to now, you've heard the word trill because of all the Southern influence.
Is he a Houston native?
He's got to be a Houston guy if he's using that, or he's faking it. But what's amazing to me, this gave us something that nothing on earth could have prepared us for, Sean. Bun B, the rapper,
Sure, classic.
who was using trill. I mean, Bun B was using trill, and
He's
like
one of the inventors, pretty much.
he invented that. So he comes out 6 hours before Stink, our main man who used the phrase dog cuss on ESPN just a week ago, and says, because Stink doesn't know what trill means. He listens to country music. But
I can't picture old Stink in a slab.
He comes out and just honestly says, I'm sounding old, but you don't give yourself a nickname. And then I come and tell you before we do the show that Stink is on Kenny Trill. And I look up that Bun B just 6 hours ago on the Bleacher Report says, son, you don't give yourself a nickname. So Kenny Hill, a.k.a. Kenny Trill, made a rapper and a conservative chili grower, a.k.a. personality, a.k.a. NFL offensive lineman, agree on the fact that you're not going to name yourself Kenny Trill.
I wonder what those two would talk about if they ever got together.
He might be surprised, man. The guys from the South, I knew a few guys that I played college football with from Houston. You would not think this, but they listen to some country music. So everybody tries to act a certain way and project this image. But if you country, you country.
That's true. It doesn't matter if you're from outside Houston or Alaska, as in Mark Schlereth's case. Now, my Notre Dame Fighting Irish put on a pretty good, impressive display against Rice. Let's just not talk about the opponent.
Don't
there.
discount what they did. I told you, I give Rice 8 wins this year. They're a bowl team.
But formerly disgraced quarterback Everett Golson, who served a suspension last year, looked to be in old form. He did great. He was 14 for 22, 295 yards passing, threw for 2 touchdowns, and had a quarterback rating of just under 96.
Yeah, and to people that want to beat down your quarterback, any player that plays for the Chiefs this year, the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, I'm just going to refer to them as your players, meaning Sean, everybody. For our uneducated guest out there, those are his teams. But people are going to try to bring down what he did. And when he excels this season, which he looks like an All-American, he's going to be an All-American. That guy did what you would want a kid to do that needed to learn a lesson. He was suspended. He was away from his team. He didn't get in more trouble. He didn't put on weight. He didn't become a worse player. He got better. And whenever a young man does that, you need to step back as an adult. We're adults now, Sean. We're not young men. And say, good job. Kudos. Pat him on the back because he learned his lesson.
I want to pat his mama on the back because I bet she took a newspaper to the backside of his head when she found out about the academic fraud.
Oh, gosh. All the Irish fans, Irish Nation wanted to take a newspaper to the back of his head because you guys are a national championship caliber program with him.
And that's really going to be answered this coming week as one of the biggest matchups of week 2 has Notre Dame against Michigan.
Always a great game to watch.
Always a great game. This is the last matchup that they have on paper. This is a matchup that might not happen for a good number of years. I saw Lou Holtz, the ever optimistic former Irish head coach, said in a segment on ESPN that this is the best rivalry in the country. So we get to see if Notre Dame's for real, and we also get to see a great game. Don't miss that this Saturday. But there are some matchups this coming week in week 2 that sort of have some early implications for the upcoming and inaugural college football Final Four.
Yeah.
Now, of these games, what do you think is most important to watch for in terms of which teams might not make it, which conferences might have a long shot at getting a team in?
I think it's without a doubt, you just got to look Oregon, Michigan State. College game day is going to be in Eugene. Get ready to see the signs. It's going to be one of those mornings where the whole day is built on that game. There's other things going on, but as we entered into the show, I said college football started out with a bang. It presented us a lot of great games. But week 2, Sean, crickets. There's nothing going on. Before the Oregon-Michigan State game, honestly, the only thing I'm going to be paying attention to will be Arizona State putting 60 on my Lobos.
It's going to be ugly. It's going to be brutal.
The only thing we have going for us is our option, and we lost our option quarterback. But back to the big boys.
How does that work, though? It's like if a team knows they're playing a triple option, if that's all a team like UNM
it's hard.
Really has, and it's like hard. You know what they're going to do. How does it continue to work so well in college ball?
Not to get off on a tangent that's going to bore our fans to death out there, our loyal listeners, but if your kids play high school football or you ever played high school football or you've been around it, you know that teams run the triple option and make it to the playoffs every year because they do that. Well, the same rules apply in college, but the only problem is that nobody wants to commit to anything. Look at Air Force and Navy. They commit to it, and they're good every year. They can win 8 games. But, let's get off that because I don't want to start harping on my Lobos. It's going to be – I may be crying on the air next week. But
now, Bo, I know you got the AP Top 25 week 2 right there on the table. What, if any, rankings or changes surprise you? I saw Louisville snuck up in there at 25.
I don't think they snuck in. I think they sent a message. If you watch that game against Miami is pro athletes. Regardless of what Miami does in a season, they're going to get 6-8 guys drafted. So there are guys on that field that will be playing NFL ball, and Louisville was making them look slow. Louisville is scary because if Charlie Strong left Louisville to go to Texas, oh my gosh, that just means that he feels that wherever he goes, he's going to get the talent. So if he left the cupboards full for Petrino, that means that the rest of the ACC needs to be put on notice. I think they were put on notice last night when you saw that game. But one thing that I want to point out, UCLA is probably my biggest underrated team from week 1. If I'm going to say,
didn't they just barely win?
Yeah,
they traveled across the country.
Oh
okay,
my gosh,
but
that is so hard to do. People don't understand that in the NFL, when you go across the Mason-Dixon line or the Mississippi, you're going from West Coast time zone to East Coast time zone. You leave 3 days early because your boys need to adjust. NCAA rules, you can only leave the night before. So if you're UCLA, or like what happened to my Lobos when they had to go play NC State years back, just got pummeled. It was like an 8-win football team that got beat by 60 in NC State. It was still 6 a.m. or 5 a.m. Albuquerque time, and they were kicking off. And it was an early morning game because East Coast teams play early morning. And Virginia, I think that kickoff there was about 9 a.m. or 10 a.m. So you subtract, you're still wee early hours of the morning. They said that Jim Mora, the head coach of UCLA, was practicing camp at 5 a.m. to prepare for that Virginia game. Because in years past, when they went to the East Coast, they've always been upset or beaten by a lesser opponent and managed to win 8 or 9 games in conference. They didn't want that to happen. And I think a lot of people are going to overlook the fact of what they did. Virginia's a good team. Virginia's going to win football games. The only thing that stinks, and this is what I was going to get at when I was talking about matchups, Sean, everybody and their mother is discounting the West Coast football leagues. I don't care if it's the Mountain West, the Pac-12, or even the Big 12. All eyes are on the ACC and even the Great American Conference, and obviously the SEC.
Now, this is one thing that struck my eye about the AP Top 25. Yeah. You have Michigan State sitting at number 7 right now.
Exactly.
I don't believe that. I think that's way too high.
You think so?
Well, we're going to find out in 4 days because probably, in addition to the other 2 matchups we talked about, they're playing Oregon. So while they might have dropped 45 on Jacksonville State,
which is a national championship pick in 1A. So you got to be careful with that kind of stuff. Watch out.
Come on now.
I'm telling you.
So of the top 5 teams on the AP, you got Auburn at 5, Oklahoma at 4, Oregon at 3, Alabama 2, and the Crab Eaters of Florida State at number 1. Which of those top 5 teams gets knocked off first?
Okay, so this is what I've been waiting for. We're finally into football, and I can educate my loyal fans out there. Don't get caught up in scores and what happens this week to this week. You need to pay attention to styles, formations, schemes, and systems. And Michigan State, their athletic director and scheduling guy should get a pat on the back because they went out and scheduled Jacksonville State, which I know that interview I had in the Missouri Valley Conference, I would have been coaching against them at Indiana State. That team runs Oregon-style offense. They try to get a playoff like every 17 seconds. Michigan State, on the other hand, has an NFL-caliber defense. Do you see what they did to them? That Jacksonville State team played some Division I schools in the past couple of years, and they were still scoring 28, 30 points.
So Michigan State beats Oregon week 2? Is that your prediction?
And it's going to be this thing to where I'm telling you, Sean, it is going to send echoes throughout the whole college football season because already people are discounting the efforts of the other conferences. They're making the SEC out to be the king among kings. So if the Big Ten beats the Pac-12 or the Pac-12 beats the Big Ten, you're basically saying we're the team that's going to get in because everybody else feels there should be 3 SEC teams in the playoff. You said it a week ago. You think there's going to be 2 or 3.
Two, yeah.
I mean, so if everybody else is feeling that way, that means Florida State did their conference a service by winning against Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State failed their conference. The Pac-12 and the Big Ten go head-to-head this week. Whoever loses that's going to fail their conference. These other guys could be essentially playing for the one spot because we've seen the SEC in the opening week. And playing against each other, their defenses look suspect, but man, who's going to outscore them?
They're like birds of prey waiting for 2 wolves to get distracted fighting amongst each other to then swoop in and get some dinner.
Yeah, so let's just get ready for these games that we're watching this week and the next week and the week after that before we get into conference play, because it usually takes about 4 weeks, to mean everything for the other power conferences. SEC's getting 2. I'm hoping that they don't get 3. But the rest of the guys are already saying, oh, gosh, you got to put in Georgia. You got to put in Alabama. You got to put in Texas A&M. That only leaves one spot.
Okay, now we're going to discuss NFL in full detail in the upcoming second segment, but I just couldn't wait for that second segment for this story, Bo. It just came across the newswire, a few hours ago, and if there was one player on the Broncos that I thought was probably not Poppin' Molly, it would be Wes Welker, but to my surprise,
Man.
he was. Failed a drug test. Adam Schefter reported that this was just after the Kentucky Derby, where, if you'll remember, in lieu of signing autographs, a sweaty and wild-eyed Wes Welker was passing out $100 bills to anybody in arm's reach. And now we know why.
Yes.
MDMA.
My man was hooked up. He was feeling the juice. So from here on out, when everybody wants to beat up rappers and all of our various athletes who tend to absorb the culture for making it rain, just remember Wes Welker, high on amphetamines, national TV, broadcast channel, passing out $100 bills, because that man was making it rain on that day too, Sean. And let's just think, last week, we were over here giggling like a bunch of schoolgirls talking about Wes Welker's player pick. If you...
Blue Steel, baby.
Yeah, Blue Steel. If you're not doing anything right now, get your phone out and look up Wes Welker's player pick. The man looks like he has amphetamines in his system 24/7. Goodness.
Well, he might.
Yeah, he does. And now we know he does. I'm just going to say it. You want to know what goes on with football players? Do you really want to know? We are a bunch of guys who don't just go hard when we're playing in between the hashes. You go hard all the time. We try to drink more beer than everybody else. We try to eat more red meat than the next guy. And something that would blow a lot of you people away out there. You know, you see the tequila spikes, all these big, brilliant athletes. If they did a poll that was anonymous in the NFL, I guarantee 15 to 20% of the league either smoke cigars or cigarettes. I'll put that out there too. A buddy of mine who played in the NFL used to comment on that about players around the stadium trying to hide their habits. Now, a lot of guys will put chewing tobacco in. You've seen that.
Sure.
But the real guys, the addicts, you'll see them pop around between a bus or something and light up a stogie or smoke a Marlboro down real quick. And I just think that stuff's funny because, hey, either you're a rocket scientist or you're a meathead. You're just good at it.
Now, he's suspended 4 games. Broncos have a bye week 4. Does that count? Does a bye week count as a week served suspension?
I don't know. That's a good question.
So at the very least, he's going to miss week 1 Colts, week 2 Chiefs, week 3 Seahawks. All could be potentially pretty competitive games.
Did you hear that, everybody? I just hit the drop button on my fantasy football team because I took Wes Welker in the 4th round.
I was telling you not to take a Bronco. I told you. That's why I don't play.
They're biting me in the butt, man. Yeah, get ready. Week 1, everybody. You know, this is that time of year where we are presented with the truth. In the spring and the summer, Sean and I sit here and we're telling you, don't bite into it. If you're a fisherman, the NFL speculation is like a new shiny lure that you just got off the internet and it came in the mail. It's telling you you're going to be able to catch more fish than a professional angler. You can close your eyes and catch fish, do it in your sleep, but you know in the back of your head, been fishing since I was 13. I just can't fish. Wes Welker's gone. Ray Rice suspended. Alden Smith. Just go down the list. Type it in. Pull up the list. This is what makes football championships. You see it in high school, college football, Sean. The rankings come out every year. Preseason favorites. All they are favorites. You still got to play the games. People are going to get hurt. People are going to get arrested. People are going to beat up their girlfriends. Stupid stuff happens to football programs.
So just like some lures are meant to lure the fisherman and not the fish, early betting odds are meant to lure the gambler, not the true sports fan or expert. Yeah.
There you go. That's
all right.
it.
Well, we're going to be discussing some of those must-see NFL matchups coming up. Plus, where is Michael Sam going to end up now that he's cleared the waiver wire? Well, we might have an answer for that. And if you're headed to an NFL stadium for the week 1 of the season, some very interesting new signature food that you might be partaking in. It's coming up on the Sean and Bo Show. Listeners, thank you so much. We appreciate you tuning in once again to the Sean and Bo Show. But now that football season is upon us, we need to grow the show, and we need you to help. Tell a friend, a neighbor, a coworker, tell somebody, share the show, play it loudly at work. We don't care. And if you have a question about fantasy football, maybe a pick that you're curious about during a trip to Vegas or another place where you can legally gamble, email us. SeanandBoShow@gmail.com. Listen to the show on iTunes, YouTube, or check us out on Podomatic, SeanandBoShow.podomatic.com. And again, email us any questions or hit us up on Twitter. The email address, SeanandBoShow@gmail.com, @SeanandBoShow on Twitter. Back to the show.
Welcome back to the Sean and Bo Show. Big news, Sean, coming out of Big D. As you know, if you listen to the show, I am without a doubt one of the biggest Cowboys fans in the world. And, you know, the news is so big, Sean, I'm not going to say it. I just want to leave it up to the old ball coach. Play that.
How about them Cowboys? Yeah!
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, Michael Sam became a Dallas Cowboys.
Well, he probably will.
He is.
It's pending a physical, though.
Well, I'm just going to clue you in on something. I've been watching us in preseason. We have one defensive player that has gotten pressure on the quarterback. We need him so bad. I was listening to the Cowboys radio guys, and that's what they were just saying, too. They're like, Michael Sam, his sacks in the preseason coming over gives us hope because we didn't have any pressure.
Well, I heard an interesting statistic. Michael Sam had, I think they revised it. He was, in the end, he was credited with 2.5 sacks in the preseason. There were 12 other players that had 2.5 or more. Michael Sam is the only player that's currently not on our roster.
See? That was a good defensive team. We said that.
The Cowboys, you guys drafted someone that is now on the IR the entire year at his position, so it's obviously a position in need for Dallas.
They had film of that guy getting hurt. I can't think of his name right now. It was just the most freak injury. But, you know, the celebration's over. Jimmy Johnson, go back in your cave. Get ready for Fox NFL Sunday. I'll be watching you in the morning. But here we go. I'm going to have to I'm going to take it in a different direction. We all know Jerry Jones had the picture surface. Sean, we put him up on the Twitter page. The interview, according to Sean, I didn't see the interview. It took place over the weekend. This was a PR move. Michael Sam, I'm not trying to take anything away from you. I could care less about what you do. I think you're a tremendous athlete. I just look at you as a football player.
We've been pulling for him too, man. I was hoping he would make an active roster. He seemed to have had a great preseason. All the indications from the Rams, seemed to say that he was improving. You know, that he was a great team player, et cetera, et cetera.
We talked about this in a coaches meeting. Said the year that the SEC Defensive Player of the Year does not make an active NFL roster, that's scary. You could tell your kids whatever you want. Son, you're 6'5". My son, he could be 6'5", 335 pounds, run a 4.8 40, bench the moon. And I could literally be like, the SEC Player of the Year did not make an NFL roster. That is scary. I'm hoping he makes an NFL roster because for young men that I coach and every other young man out there that has aspirations or dreams to go to the NFL, if you're an all-conference player in one of the top conferences, you should be able to make an NFL team. But getting drafted by the Rams for him put him up against impossible odds. Going to the Cowboys gives him a chance to be an impact player. But for Jerry Jones, going to the Cowboys gets people looking at something else. Because we know the media storm that Michael Sam can create. There were people saying that his cut from the Rams was not motivated by his play or effort, but strictly by
just
the fact that ESPN. No, ESPN. Somebody said that. It was quoted. People were bringing that up about there was grumblings going on that were not made public because they don't want to be looked at as bashing someone. They simply said there were a ton of media hanging around asking questions like Howie Long's son, Jake Long or Chris Long. Is it Chris Long?
Yeah, Chris Long.
Chris Long. He was asked so many questions. I seen Chris Long interview after Chris Long interview where he was asked questions about Michael Sam. I'm sorry. The guy who makes $16 million a year, $17 million a year says one thing about he's tired of the Michael Sam questions. I know how that's going to go. I don't care if you work for Jiffy Lube. If the guy who makes $100,000 a year and gets to call himself the general regional manager says you're getting on his nerves and you just clean up the popcorn people spill while they're waiting, bye-bye, buddy.
Well, it's going to be interesting. Do you think it's going to make the difference? I mean, is this guy going to get any playing time, or is he just going to be practice squad? What do you think is going to happen in the end with him?
Yeah, and I don't want to start getting into our NFL talk about week 1, but when I talk about the Cowboys game and how I think this game is meaningless because we stink, yes, Michael Sam plays. Yes, Michael Sam makes an impact because it's a 4-3. And that 4-3 is new to a lot of these guys. We were running a defense with the wrong players last year, and then we get the right players, and they're all hurt or gone. So Michael Sam comes in there. If he just plays hard and shows out, that dude could be looking at a contract.
All right. Well, we'll see. In honor of Jerry Jones saying over the weekend on that SportsCenter piece that Jimmy Johnson's never going to make the Ring of Honor at the Dallas Cowboys Stadium. In honor of that.
How about them Cowboys?
All right, there we go. Our own Ring of Honor here at the Sean and Bo Show. Now, a couple of things that, and I just hope neither one of these bites us in the ass like that Josh Shaw story did, but got to give some additional props. First to Coach Harbaugh on Ray McDonald, the 49ers player who was popped for domestic violence. He said in an interview with CSN Bay Area's Matt Moyako, quote, "I'll be very clear. You ask me how I feel about domestic violence, I can be very clear about that. If someone physically abuses a woman and or physically or mentally abuses or hurts a child, then there's no understanding. There is no tolerance for that." He was asked if the 49ers would allow him to be on the team if he was found guilty of domestic violence, and he said, quote, "We would not. We can be very clear." Mm-hmm. So, we had the Ray Rice story. We had all the outrage over the ridiculously low time of suspension for him. And now we actually have a head coach of an organization. Now that's where there really needs to be people taking a stand is on an organizational level.
Agreed. Don't
wait for Goodell to hand out the punishment. I really like this. I applaud Harbaugh for being so hard-lined about this. Mm-hmm. He said flat out, if you get found guilty of domestic violence, you're off the 49ers. Mm-hmm. And I would hope that would apply to the star players too. I hope that that's going to be something that spreads.
I think it's something that's lost with NFL coaches because you got to remember Jim Harbaugh, Stanford College. You do the high school football, college football, you are a leader of young men. Your job is not necessarily championship as it is graduating players and developing young boys who show up on campus or come into your high school as a bunch of pimply-faced idiots, because that's what I was. I thought I knew everything, didn't listen to anybody. And by the time they leave there, they're the type of guys that are, hey, coach, I got a test coming up, a midterm. I think I'm going to need a tutor so I can prepare. You look at that guy and you're like, that was the same guy that was ditching 3 classes a day when he showed up here. That's what it's about. And I expect that from a Jim Harbaugh. He's the type of coach that if you're out there, you need to model yourself after. As a player, as a young man, he is a no-nonsense kind of guy. And he not only went into an organization of San Francisco that was ready to fall off into the ocean if they got hit with a 6.6 quake again, and he just took them from crumbling into the sea to no nonsense, show up early. If you're falling asleep at the wheel and driving into trees, Alden Smith, you can't come to team, walkthroughs because you need to get your life in order. That's what I expect from Harbaugh, and that's what the rest of these coaches need to do. Take the business out of it. Why is it you want to do a character check on a guy before you'll draft him in the first 3 rounds? But when he gets on your team, if he makes a boo-boo, we're just going to pretend it didn't happen until the commissioner rules. Well, We're not going to do anything till the commissioner speaks.
That's right.
It's this double standard that teaches these guys that, well, if you play good enough and they pay you a lot of money, they're going to treat you different than a guy who just came in the league or a guy who's on his way out. That's not the message we need to be sending to anybody a part of any organization.
Now, another kind of good guy in the NFL, and I would say a certain Hall of Famer, got paid, Bo. He got paid big time. The Texans' J.J. Watt. Now, I think you were looking at the numbers a minute ago. Is this the most money that's been paid at this position in NFL history?
Top paid. I was surprised he was 4 spots above Ndamukong Suh on that list. That really blew my mind. But if you think about it, Ndamukong can't affect the game like JJ can from the edge.
J.J. Watt also doesn't stomp people's faces in the middle of a scrum.
That is true. You're not worried about that guy getting suspended. You can't be getting a $100 million contract and being suspended 3 games. But J.J. Watt does all the right things. I really like him because it was one of them deals. NFL Channel was following him around, and a young child that he had dealt with or, and been involved with that was battling cancer was coming up to speak to him, and he asked the cameras to just give me a minute. It was private. And I thought that was so cool.
Yeah. He does a lot of stuff with Make-A-Wish.
Yeah.
He just seems like an overall good guy.
And then he was talking. They did the interview after he inked the deal, and it became official. And he said he called his parents, and he was just like, "Wow, this is real. It's really happening." And he thanked all the people, from teachers to middle school coaches to the guy who drove the bus in junior high football. That's the type of person. If you have young men out there playing this sport, young women playing athletics, those are who you want them to look up to, not the other guys, not the guys that Sean and I sit here and salivate over, waiting for them to give us something to just sink our teeth into, just eat them up over. This guy, J.J. Watt, you know what he's going to give us? We're going to say, wow, did you see that play where J.J. Watt batted the ball down, intercepted it, and ran it in the end zone? Because he is a football player. You play football, you do your job, and everything else takes care of itself.
Now, that said, I totally wouldn't mind some security camera footage that showed J.J. Watt like in a biker bar taking on like a dozen Hells Angels, because I think he probably could. Now, let's hope that doesn't happen, but I can see J.J. Watt in the WWE after he's done playing or something like that.
This is totally going to make me sound country, but when you look at J.J. Watt's arms, I can imagine he could just throw bales of hay.
Oh, yeah.
Like, he'll just grab them one at a time and just like sling them in this motion to where his arms are continuously going in circles. And he could clear like a 3-acre field in 45 minutes. Swear to God. That dude right there is just country strong. What do you play? Tennessee? Or... Golly, I cannot remember where J.J. Watt went to college.
That sounds right. Let's see. Wisconsin-Madison.
Oh, yeah, Wisconsin, duh. Okay, so Wisconsin is where the new end zone wing's going on. I was trying to figure out who's going to get the new addition, because you remember Urlacher got a big deal, UNM got some stuff. That's the way it always goes. People don't understand why there's such a need for these colleges to turn a blind eye on a player. When the University of Oklahoma, a week ago, we gave them kudos for suspending the number 3 running back on Rivals, or he's a top number 3 running back, top 100 player. Suspended him for a season. Potentially, you said that's an NFL ticket.
Yeah.
It is. To the University of Oklahoma, that's a $500,000 donation to the university's trust. That's just gone.
If not more.
Yeah. I mean, these guys, you got to think a lot of people get caught up in Ndamukong Suh giving more money than ever. To just write a check to somebody for doing nothing is crazy in my eyes because I'm poor. But, when a Danny Granger, like University of New Mexico, gives a $500,000 check to somebody, that is a lot of money to just give to someone for nothing. Because really, as an athlete, I've told you how I felt about the NCAA. They got their money off me when I was wearing the jersey and they were selling tickets. To give money back when it's all said and done, that is a big deal. So when they suspend players, when they do these things, you're potentially taking away a J.J. Watt in the future. Because let's say this guy does have a hard time in college. Maybe he gets to the NFL, starts making money, cleans his act up. 4 years later, he's a Pro Bowler, and they give him a $45 million contract. The school's getting $3 million, $4 million. Just signed away, right away.
All right. Well, as we've said, Bo, the time is here. Next time we talk to all y'all people, the week 1 will be over. We're going to have storylines. We're going to have drama. But right now, Bo and I are going to preview some can't miss games of week 1. I think we both have 3 that we're looking at. I'll begin. I think you got to catch the very first game of the year on Thursday night, Green Bay versus Seattle. Why? Well, Seattle obviously just won the Super Bowl. A lot of time there's sort of a Super Bowl hangover. I mean, you see this all the time where a team wins the Super Bowl, they don't even make the playoffs the next year. So it's going to be interesting to see how they look both on offense and if the way that they're calling pass interference and all the different points of emphasis that the referees were using during the preseason, how much that will affect such a physical defense that the Seahawks have. And for the Packers, a lot of people have them as a Super Bowl pick. Aaron Rodgers, certainly one of the most elite quarterbacks in the league. I think even Dan Patrick had them making the Super Bowl this year. So we're going to find out if they're for real or not.
Yeah, it's funny to me looking around the various things that are associated with football, from fantasy to gambling or people who make office pool picks. It's amazing to me how many people are just writing off Aaron Rodgers in this game. I'm like, take away Seattle, take away the Super Bowl, take away all the high-paid players they have. You're going to bet against Aaron Rodgers in a primetime game?
Yeah, who you picking, Russell Wilson or Aaron Rodgers? Who do you want on your team?
The kid who used to make you stay up and watch Cal football. Like, that's how good Aaron Rodgers was.
You were watching those games because you had money on them, Bo. Don't lie. You love those late-night games.
Aaron Rodgers has been dropping dimes his whole life. That dude right there can just – I hope he rocks the mustache again. I really do. I hope he rocks the mustache.
So one of the games that you're looking at, Bo?
Oh, yeah. Definitely one of my big games is New Orleans and Atlanta. When I think of that division, the NFC South is what it is. Every year, like clockwork, whoever wins it, the next year they finish in dead last or the spot just above it. So you see this matchup, and I'm thinking Atlanta underperformed. New Orleans really didn't live up to everything. Got their coach back. Rob Ryan, new defense. This game is going to have some juice. These boys right here, they know that they're playing for playoffs. This one, you lose it. If you're a Saints fan, if you're a Falcons fan, or you know anybody who likes those teams, you need to tell them guys, hey, when it's week 15, week 13, week 14, and you're wondering why your team's still in the bubble, this will be the game you'll be pointing back at.
I like the Saints this year. I think that they have a big chance of winning that division, helped in part due to not the strongest schedule ever, but you look at the Saints schedule, this is a team that can rattle off easily 6 wins in a row.
Do you buy in the NFL schedule rankings?
No,
I don't think it's enough teams.
Every year there's a surprise.
Yeah, and it's not college football where you can be Florida State and go play the Citadel.
But listen to this. Here's the Saints' first 5 games. Falcons, probably a win. Browns, probably a win. Vikings, that might be a bit of a challenge, but probably a win. Your Cowboys, and then the Buccaneers.
I just don't buy that. I don't buy that because Minnesota defense running game, Dallas tons of offense, and the fact that what people outside of locker rooms don't understand, and I just experienced whenever a coach comes from another place or players have played for that coach, you know everything. Coaches don't change. The reason old coaches start sucking, you know why old coaches start to suck? It's because everybody knows their playbook. After they've worked in a league for 20 or 30 years, everybody knows what they do.
So what you're saying is that you would like to right now bet me $20 on the Saints Cowboys game?
Oh, yeah. That's definitely, I would bet shake on that
shake
right now.
on that? All right, we got
I'll
that. It's on audio.
It's right here. I'll take 20 on
yeah.
that.
I'm going to get paid, boy.
The in Atlanta, I can't believe you would just throw Atlanta into that gimme category. They're going to be ridiculous
I
this
think,
year.
look, they got those 5 games, a bye, then at the Lions versus the Packers, at the Panthers. I think conservatively 6-2. And that could be 7-1. I think Packers are going to give them some trouble. Vikings might give them some trouble. I'm not scared of any of those other teams.
Hey, the old owner, Rozelle, the NFL, or commissioner, was it Pete Rozelle? He envisioned an 8-8 league. It's here. It's here.
There is parity. It's true.
I think that Cowboys fans are used to it. The rest of the league, get on board. Because if you're just a game over 500, 3 games over 500, be excited. This league is so evenly matched. When you go through the rundowns of the teams right now, we're still into the speculation phase. We got to get through the first week. Nicks and bruises, hamstrings, concussions, suspensions due to foul play. So those
People
things,
doing Molly.
Yeah. Oh god, the Molly. Golly, where are these parties at? These people kill me.
All right, the next game I'm looking at, Bo, and I'm trying not to be a homer, but yeah, my Chiefs. My Chiefs play the Titans week 1, and the reason why I'm looking forward to this game and I list it as a must see is that if the Chiefs don't win this game, it's gonna be a long season.
This
Bo.
is like me looking forward if the Cowboys open up with the Raiders. That's the same thing. I have this game picked heavily in my fantasy. You know how many Chiefs players I'm trying to pick up? I think you guys are going to be on a destroy mission against these guys.
If we don't, we're not making the playoffs. I mean, Chiefs have a tough schedule. If you start off with a loss, you then get the Broncos at Denver, the Dolphins, Patriots, 49ers, Chargers. You also have the Seahawks later in the season. It's a rough schedule.
Yeah, but that, just like the list of non-factor games, I have Dallas, San Francisco in there, so you can erase that San Fran game. San Francisco, I just got in talking about Harbaugh and how much I like him. He is going to be tested this year. This will be the year where Harbaugh has to not choke a player. My game, though, moving on, you got to go, and you're going to kill me on this one, Buffalo and Chicago. The reason I say Buffalo and Chicago is because it's another set of teams that preseason, a lot of people are looking for them to make noise in their divisions. But if
Bills are going to be garbage, what are you talking about?
No, I don't think so. I really don't think so. We are caught up on last season. We always do that in the NFL. We get caught up on, the Broncos are going to be good because they were good last year. The Seahawks are going to be good because they're good last year. Not all of those teams are going to be good. You every year it happens, just like you said. Teams make the playoffs and they don't go back. Only people that should be grinning every year going into the season are the teams that don't make the playoffs. I always say every year, I'm a Cowboys fan. We didn't make the playoffs.
Well, you're used to it.
I have the best chance. I have the best chance of anybody statistically.
Not until Jerry Jones dies.
We said that about the Raiders, and nothing's gotten better over there. They're in. The Raiders make me sick.
By the way, Carr starting over Schaub.
Yeah,
it's come full circle. It's like his family has been avenged. All right, the final game that I'm looking forward to, and this might surprise some people, San Diego versus Arizona. Now you might be asking yourself, Sean, were you partying with Wes Welker? The answer is maybe. However,
I had that one too.
San Diego, I think, is the dark horse in the AFC West. If it's not my Chiefs, it probably is going to be the Broncos, but I think the Chargers are not getting enough run. I think you're going to see Phillip Rivers at the height of his career. Yes. I think you're going to see a much improved offense and defense for that matter with the addition of Brandon Flowers for my Chiefs, who now has a big chip on his shoulder. I think that the Chargers are absolutely going to be no joke this year.
The Hall of Fame quarterback that gets no love. Phillip Rivers is going to be in the Hall of Fame.
Oh, yes, not yet. He's not.
Yes, he is.
No, not yet.
Yes, he will.
He's got to do something more, man.
He's on all the throws.
He's on the cusp of it, but he needs
all the throws.
He has to have an absolute marquee season, and I'm thinking this might be it.
Yeah, but you got to remember, NFL 20 years ago, I would agree with that. NFL today, we have the teams that have become the universities. And what I mean by that, there are certain NFL teams that they might as well be that university that teams like Alabama and USC play at the beginning of the season. They're never going to be good. They've compiled, look at the Cleveland Browns. They have put together 2 decades of just ugly football. Not even when they were playing, it was ugly. It's not going to get better. If Caldwell can turn around Detroit, that would be a miracle. If Caldwell turns around Detroit, do you think he'll get the respect he's deserved? Do you really look at the Detroit job as a turnaround job? Because I think a lot of people think of Detroit as, they're just waiting for the right guy. No, they've had Mariucci. They've had Schwartz. And now they have Caldwell. All guys that can win Super Bowls or be a part of Super Bowl winning teams. I just think the NFL gets too much credit. The NFL is no different, man. I think the NFL is just like high school or college football. You have programs in towns that understand what they need to do to win games, and then you have other towns like Cleveland and Oakland that are just happy to be on TV.
So what was the last game that you were looking forward to this week? Must-see football?
As far as must-see football goes, I want to say Cincinnati-Baltimore. We always know that that's going to come down to being
defense versus defense.
Cincinnati, Baltimore, you got two coaches that have played each other probably more than any other two coaches in the NFL. They get to hang on to the positions. They really run their programs. Their teams are reflections of how they coach. The rivalry, I've told you, I've attended that game multiple times growing up in the Midwest. A good game to always go see is Cincinnati and Baltimore. When they created that, they really created that rivalry. When they brought Baltimore in as the expansion team, it is just a slobber knocker. It's one of those games where guys are getting knocked out. But what's crazy about it, and what the other people don't realize outside of football, it beats you twice. It's one of those games. Dallas, Philly, Dallas, Washington, Dallas, New York. That's how I can identify with Cincinnati, Baltimore. I don't know who it is for you. Is Denver physical for you? Is that like your physical game for Kansas City? It can beat you twice because of all the nicks and injuries.
No, I wouldn't describe that as too much of a physical rivalry because it's basically high-powered offense versus defense that tries to keep up. But it's not like a Steelers Ravens type of drag them out rivalry. But yeah, I don't know. There really aren't that many of those rivalries left, Bo.
There aren't. There's a few where the players identify with the coaches and the owners and the fans, where literally the players will see a fan wearing an opposing team's jersey and that offends them. Most of the time, everybody I'm an NFL representative, I'm going to treat everybody the same. But like you said, you get certain teams in certain stadiums, even the players are ready to cuss out the grandma wearing the opposing team's jersey. You don't want to get beat twice in those games.
Just like the Raiders versus everyone.
Yeah, everybody.
Everybody. There's going to be a stabbing.
Because, like I said, people probably think I'm silly saying this, but if you could just remember back, everybody had to go to high school. If you were born in America, it's the law. You went to a high school. If you were on the crappy team, like I was in high school, my team was the crappy team. You know where we always got in our fights, Sean? When we played the school that won all the state titles. So that's what I'm saying. The NFL is really no different from college and high school. You just have to identify those teams. I don't ever think Cleveland's going to win a Super Bowl, like in the modern era. I don't ever think the Raiders will win a Super Bowl in the modern era. And if the Cowboys don't make the playoffs 2 years in a row in the next 7 years, I'm going to drop us in that category. Because what happens is it's cancer. That's what you always call it as a football coach. I tell athletic directors this, I tell my players this, I tell the parents this. Don't let the cancer start to take over. And what cancer is, well, we played hard. We always get beat by those guys. Or, well, we never make the playoffs. So the fact that we upset that team, that's good enough. When that takes over, you'll be the Raiders fighting everybody in the stands every Sunday.
Now, one of the things that we love almost as much as football itself, Bo, is the food that we digest during football.
Yeah.
And this is pretty cool. If you're heading to an NFL stadium this year, Aramark, I don't know how you say it, food distribution company that services a lot of stadiums, they're unveiling what they call their new signature tribute menu series at various venues around the league this year. So let's listen to these choices, and I want to know what does Bo order if he has his choice among these various fares. If you go to Arrowhead to see the Chiefs, you can grab a tailgate stack, which is burnt ends, basically barbecue, topped with brisket, that is, topped with cheddar cheese sauce, melted beer grain syrup, bacon, and a fried egg, served on a piece of fry bread. Sounds pretty good. If you're going to see the Browns, want to see a little Johnny football, how about the bad to the bone bologna? Fried all beef bologna cut into the shape of dog bones, white American cheese, sweet pickles, and Chomp's secret spicy sauce on a soft white roll. Steelers have the Emperor, 2 beef patties and shaved kielbasa, onion, bacon, kraut, fried egg, and Heinz Field secret sauce on a brioche bun. I'm getting hungry already. Going to see the Eagles, the Quick and Carmichael. Black cherry smoked pulled pork, maple sugar smoked pulled chicken, topped with you should see Bo right now. He is literally drooling on himself. Topped with house-made slaw on a potato roll.
I'm crying.
Go
to cry.
Go to Nashville and you'll get yourself a Music City meatloaf sandwich, homemade meatloaf with crispy fried onions and chipotle mayo. The Ravens have a Poe's pork taco, which is smoked pulled pork tossed with buffalo sauce, topped with green onion slaw on a flatbread tortilla. Texans have what they call Toro's chicken stack. That is smoked chicken topped with candied bacon. Anything with candied bacon is a winner in my book, Bo. Texas Jack cheese, cranberry mayo, and garnished with fresh arugula, served on a Sheila Parton jalapeno roll. That is damn fancy. Around the rest of the league, the Houday pigskin wrap, which you can get at Paul Brown Stadium, home of the Bengals. Soft flour tortilla encasing 2 corn tostada shells loaded with mojo pulled pork, which is seasoned and cooked for over 13 hours, Bo. Pork crackling, bacon bits, pico de gallo, and pepper jack cheese grilled until golden brown. If you go to see the Bucks, you can get yourself a red sail dog, which is a Hebrew national hot dog with sriracha, mustard, red sauerkraut, and scallion curls on a split top bun. I don't know how more of this I can take. We got 3 more. Go to Soldier Field, and if you don't get too full with beer and brats in the parking lot, you can get the burger sliders.
The burgers.
Pepper jack pork burger, chorizo cream, chipotle barbecue pulled pork, Havarti cheese, thick cut bacon, and crispy potato sticks, all crammed into some sort of delicious bun. And this might be the winner here, Bo. I don't know. You're gonna have to tell me what you think. If you go see the Vikings play, get yourself a 40 for $60 burger. Okay, this is specially blended. 40% ground bacon, 60% ground beef, all put in a patty, with cheddar cheese, applewood smoked bacon, lettuce, tomato, crispy onions, a fried egg, special sauce on a pretzel bun.
So they didn't get enough bacon into the blend. They put more bacon on top.
That's right.
Oh my gosh. That's the 60-40 blend and then some.
Oh my God.
Oh, God. Son. So this is where people are going to figure out where my taste buds lie. So I grew up in the Midwest. You're not going to grow up in the Midwest and not be influenced by the German cultures, which gives us all your kielbasas, your krauts to go on top
you like that?
of it.
You like that shaved kielbasa?
Yeah,
huh?
yeah. And I'm thinking, you're a Pennsylvania native. If I'm a smart guy, I'm going to Heinz Field.
Yeah.
Because if there's going to be a bunch of critics that are going to let you know if your kielbasa's bad, it's going to be in PA.
That's correct.
So
it was at literally every one of my family gatherings as a child.
Yeah. And that's why I used to hang out with my other buddies. They came to my house to get barbecue. I went to their house to get kielbasa. And here's my other one. So if I'm a smart man, if I'm getting barbecue, I'm torn because there's a lot of good places that do good barbecue. But the best barbecue I've had to date was a place called Gates.
That's right.
Kansas City.
That's right. Yeah. See, that's why that one didn't impress me that much. It's like if you're in Kansas City for a home game, you're going to get so full of delicious world-class barbecue before you even enter that stadium that I can't imagine the food that they're serving in the stadium is going to compare to Gates, man.
I told my buddy when he went to the game, he went to his first Kansas City game, took the family. He's like, well, what should I do? I've never been there. He's like, they got barbecue. I'm like, go to Walmart, get you some paper plates. Get some plastic forks. Get some red cups. Drive over into Gates.
Maybe some extra beers.
Yeah. And when the lady yells at you, because that's what she does when she asks you what you want, tell her how many people you're feeding. She'll get it for you. She's going to give it to you in a to-go bag. Then your family needs to go over to the parking lot, sit on your tailgate, and you're going to enjoy the greatest food. And to this day, Sean, my buddy and his family still talk about that barbecue. Like they let me down with kindness. They're like, you made the best barbecue in the neighborhood. Then we went to Kansas City. And I'm like, yeah, KC, you're number one in my book when it comes to the Q.
Oh, God. I am hungry now. Well,
Let's eat.
that's going to do it for this episode of the Sean and Bo Show. So enjoy that sweet, sweet football this weekend. We'll be back on Monday night. Until then, I'm Sean O'Donnell, along with my co-host Bo Greer, reminding you, tip your pizza man.
See you next week. I'll take 20
Cha-ching,
on that.
yeah. I'm going to get paid, boy.